Have you guys ever dealt with imposter syndrome? And if so, how do you deal with it?
Everything's being rammed down your throat 24/7, and this is like, as a consumer, it's really tiring.
And it's something that people don't really talk about because everyone loves for it to look like the dream party lifestyle where you're hopping on planes, you're out every night, you're meeting cool people. But really, for those things to happen,
there's more people usually means more problems. We have to be really careful about how we balance the communication.
You need to see new faces at your events if you want to grow things, and otherwise you're setting yourself a ceiling.
There's so much saturation in the scene. How are you navigating around that, and how are you standing out from others, or what are the tools that someone else could benefit from that you could provide?
We were effectively winging it for a little while.
And there's just nothing there. As you know from somebody from the UK, the nightlife is just dire. Like in small towns, there's just nothing there.
Welcome back to another Roving podcast, and today I've got Grounded Sounds and LUNR Events with Jay Carrington and Law Mark. Thanks for coming on, boys. Thanks for joining.
Hello.
So, as with all my guests, I'm going to find out a little bit about yourself, Lawrence. Obviously, we've had a podcast show before, but kind of explain what your role is with Grounded Sounds, because you kind of run the Grounded Sounds thing, right? So,
yeah, I mean, without ruining the last episode we did, because we want to give people a reason to listen back, right? I run a record label called Grounded Sounds, along with Jake, and along with the other members of LUNR and Grounded. We're like one big team, and part of that is that I run the label. I'm based out of Canada, and I'm a DJ and producer as well myself, making house music and kind of version on the edge of techno, kind of right on the edge between both of them. But yeah, so I'm always looking for new music, always really excited to hear the new tunes from everybody, and just keeping the label running on a day-to-day. So if you want to know more about that specifically, I guess check back to the last episode.
Yes, mate, that's a good shout, actually. And yourself, Jake, what about yourself with LUNR Events? Obviously, you're back in the UK, and tell us a little bit about yourself, mate.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm based near London. We've been running LUNR Events for the last 5 years, and recently obviously merged with Laura and Magdi at Grounded Sounds, and sort of taking on some of the responsibilities within the label as well. But my focus is running tech house events across the UK. Is sort of the area that I get involved with the most, and absolutely love it.
Sweet mate. So where was your passion originally when it all started with LUNR then?
Yeah, good question. So it's 2019 when we formed LUNR Events. I was 19, and me and a few friends were a little bit bored of the nightlife in Ipswich, specifically in Suffolk, which is where we're from, and realised, if you want something to change, then you've got to do something about it. So we decided it could be interesting to host a couple of events, or one event originally, where we booked DJs we wanted to hear. We played music we wanted to hear, which was sort of very different to the normal formula in most venues and clubs around us. And that was it. It really was a small seed that we sowed 5 years ago. And since then, things have got bigger and bigger, and people liked it. And people have sort of joined us on the journey over the last 5 years of running these house music events. But for us, it really came from a place of frustration, I suppose, with no goals, no expectations. We just wanted a night out that was different to the night out that was available to us in our small seaside town 5 years ago.
That's sick, mate. Yeah, it's kind of like Maidstone for me. We had some big acts there. Getting that in your small town is kind of good, and it brings a lot to the town, doesn't it? But
100%. And we were in a town where there was no competition for venues. So there was one nightclub that was the nightclub, and everyone between 18 and 20 was there. There was another venue where everyone sort of 25 to 30 was there. And because there was no competition, there was no pressure to evolve. There was no pressure to change, no pressure to get new people
very,
in.
very painful. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And we ended up in a situation where it was the same playlist, the same R&B playlist every single Saturday, the same DJ every Friday and Saturday, because there was no pressure to adapt or be better than anyone else. And they got the footfall. And we decided it was a little bit boring, is the truth. And so originally we thought, let's host parties that we'd want to attend, similar to, I suppose, house parties. We were 19, we were only been clubbing for the last year.
Rave.
Yeah, exactly that, 100%. And we're huge fans of house music. And yeah, very just pleased how things went from there. We sort of did our first event. Lots of our friends supported, as is often the case. They're usually the people that sort of bring that first injection of actually we might have something here. and it's evolved from there.
Sweet, mate. I mean, what I was going to ask you as well, actually, while we're on the topic, is what were your inspirations before you started your event, to get into Tech House and then to obviously develop that forward to LUNR Events?
Good question. So we'd all been huge fans of house music for a long time. Generally, the stuff that was on the radio actually sort of is what got me into it anyway. It's really cliche, but the big ones. Exactly. Pete Tong and Avicii, or got sort of showed us what dance music was, and then we delved a bit deeper into it. Our first ever event was actually a house and garage night, and the idea was that it was just something different from what the market was locally. The goals were never to really, on that first event, we were never expecting to do events in different places in the country. We were in a bar that I worked in at the time, which is how we got our first lead in there.
Nice.
We were effectively winging it for a little while before it sort of started snowballing. And I think really the inspiration came after we'd done a couple of events, and that's what took it to another level, if you know what I mean. It was never planned for it. We never planned for it to be a job, anything like that. It really was, we want a night out that's different to what's there, so we're going to do it for ourselves and our friends, and then friends tell other friends, don't they? And things got a little bit more serious as they went on.
So how did you come up with the name LUNR?
I'd say it's very sorry mate.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say it's very similar to the way that Grounded kind of came about. That's why it just made so much sense to come together, because what Jake's saying about LUNR and how they started is exactly how Grounded started. We came from the same place. We're both from Ipswich or the surrounding area, and there's just nothing there. As you know, from somebody from the UK, the nightlife is just dire. Like in small towns, there's just nothing there. So Grounded Sound started as an events company as well before it was a label, and same as that. We just wanted to throw parties that we wanted to go to. In my most of my life, I moved to London, and I just got exposed to so much great events. And in the other parts of the UK, besides the big cities, it's just really weak, to be honest with you. When you have any specialized taste in music, there's just nothing. So when bringing that back to their hometown to try and actually build a community is super important to all of us.
100%. I mean, there's lots of brands now that are sort of operating from within Ipswich, and they're hosting house events. So for me, it's brilliant to see, because when we started 5 years ago, there was almost no one. There was House in Town, who's now a brand that we work with a lot, Carl and Steve. But in terms of regular tech house, or even, any part of the house conversation, wasn't an option, and there was sort of no one doing it. And I think we were quite disruptive, I suppose, in that sense. And really, hopefully anyway, gave other people the moment of realization where actually I could do this too, because there's room for all of us. We're all on the same goal of improving the scene. And as much as it's brilliant to be talking about events we're hosting in Ibiza and Dublin and lots of things going on in London, Ipswich is still really special, right? And that's where we had the moment of realization. And I want the scene locally to improve, because we all win in that case. And providing some options. So hopefully in a few years' time, house music is really embedded within the local scene, because we're really passionate about the local scene. It's our home. It's great to travel around and create these experiences and take our community of people into different parts of the country and different countries now. But Ipswich is still special. We've still got a residency. Got another residency half an hour down the road every month. And that's always going to be a really core function for us.
How was what was the original team? How did you develop the team for LUNR? Like, how did you come about? Like, I know you said obviously you started with your mates and you created events, but how did you know, like, what people, how did the key core group of people start to?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah,
I've always been really lucky to have interesting people around me. For us, we had a rule very early on that we want to collaborate with people that are similar to us, people who are passionate, and people that we work well with. That was always something we were quite strict on, I suppose. We only wanted to work in venues where we had really good relationships with the owners, where they were really great to work with. There was a mutual interest, and the team sort of grown that way. LUNR, before we merged with Grounded Sounds, we could get onto for sure.
Yeah, we'll get into that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. That was myself and Owen Partington, who I was in partnership with. And, we realised very quickly we both complemented each other I'm a bit of a waffler. I love the big picture. I can talk about it forever. And Owen was very good at the operations of the brand, making sure these things actually happen, especially locally. And also, I think, keeping me in check a little bit as well, because I mean, I've been talking about buying a t-shirt cannon for the last 5 years, and we still haven't, which shows that
Start throwing
Owen's,
cake at people as well.
Yeah, exactly. So Owen's done his job there for sure. But I absolutely could not have done it on my own. And there's lots of people as well who've sort of dipped in and out throughout that journey, or we've worked with some really, really brilliant photographers and videographers, some really brilliant brand ambassadors, and people who sort of are very much a part of the LUNR collective and that core team. And we all collaborate together to get to these goals. We've all got the same goals, right? We want to improve the nightlife scene locally. We want to explore the world, and we want to keep hosting parties where every single one is something we genuinely enjoy. And that's something that we've stuck quite true to. But there's definitely been lots of faces that have sort of come in and out. No drama, unfortunately, no controversial.
That's just part of life, isn't it?
Headline.
That's just part of life.
But exactly,
Right.
and it's a start-up business effectively, and we've been going for 5 years, and things do change, and things do evolve. But I think the position we're in at the moment, with the team that we've got, with Laura and Magdi on the Grounded Sound side, and joining forces as sort of equal partners, I don't think we've ever been in a position so strong, is the truth. And I don't mean that arrogantly, but I think
Completely
the
agree.
brand's making a lot of noise at the moment.
Yep.
And it's a lot of live work, is the truth. We've done lots of very, very late shifts, lots of risks. But to get to where we are, I think we're in a really good position.
That's good, mate. And like, I'm going to go with Lawrence as well in a sec on this one. Obviously, like you said, the grassroots of any sort of rave collective, whatever, is local kind of grassroots kind of stuff, right? And that's how is that how you started, Lawrence? When it with Grounded Sounds was kind of the grassroots of like getting local good talent and starting them, giving them the opportunity to kind of show their craft.
Yeah, we're super passionate about getting new people involved. Like we just love it. Like, I know there's a lot of gatekeeping involved in the industry generally, as you know. If you haven't got followers, it's 10 times harder to get booked. But we're just not interested in that. It's just not part of our brand. And that's something which I'm sure Jake agrees with as well. Like, it's for me and Magdi, when we started Grounded, it was never about like followers. It was never about like just showing that we're cool. It was just about being able to do cool things with people that care. That's all we really want to do. And we've got a really nice balance between us two, where, I had a bit more of the technical mindset, and Magdi's like this amazing people person where he can just chat to anybody for hours straight. And that really contrasts so well, because I'm not the biggest people person. Like, I do well with like one-on-one conversation, but I'm not the kind of person that can strike up a conversation. But when it comes to the technical knowledge, that's where I kind of contrast him really nicely. So, it really works. And I say, when we're booking like events and stuff and get the residencies going, it's great because new talent is always a conversation that we have. Who can we get in? It's really exciting to give somebody their first gig. We know, all three of us know how hard it is to get a show from nowhere. You know how hard it is to be a bedroom DJ, really wishing you could play a club set and just finding it really impossible. Same with the label. It's the same ethos. It's like, I don't care if you've got 100 followers or 10,000. I'd prefer it if you had 10,000, but if you don't, it's okay. Like, as long as your music's good. So community building, like Jake said, is super important.
100%. It's all a community. It really is one big community, and we work so closely with our resident DJs. I think it's probably not as common that the DJs are so involved in the big decisions that we make, but I think for us, you're absolutely right. It's all about the experience for the customers, and I think I want everyone to benefit from the legwork that the LUNR and Grounded Sounds team have done for so long. If we've got an opportunity where we can take someone to a different country for a show, or give them their first set in London, or whatever that might be, I'm really proud of that, and I want to accommodate that when we can. And so it's something that's always at the forefront of our mind, is who can we bring with us? Who can we help, I suppose, and who do we want to collaborate with?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Jay, as well. Is that how did you go about as you started LUNR, as you guys started LUNR, and you grew it? How did you go about selecting your resident DJs that you wanted to keep? The selection process for that.
Good question. But I suppose it evolved really organically, is the truth. And we've had lots of DJs come through the door who we still work with very regularly now. For us, we really admired passion, potentially admired passion more than talent. If someone's working hard and they might be a bedroom DJ, but if they're really putting the hours in and they're trying to boost their social profile and they're out there having those conversations, we always found those people really brilliant to work with. And it was more of a case of meeting them in the middle when we booked them for these events, where they're invested in us too, and want the event to do well, and want to be in these conversations. And so it's happened really organically, is the truth. I mean, when we first started, it was a case of, right, who do we know who plays house music that we can get involved?
Right.
And obviously the lineups have really evolved since then. But I'm really proud of the DJs that we work with. I mean, in terms of residents, that just happens really naturally, is the truth. You know, someone that we really get on with, someone who's really passionate about it, someone who's a very, very talented tech house DJ, who keeps coming back for us. You know, it's not really a case of when we book them for their first gig, this person's going to be a resident, they're right for the brand, let's make it official. It's more of a case of just an organic relationship that we build with them. And once they're very much a part of the LUNR collective and they're coming to different places with us, then the resident title can go on, if you see what I mean. You know, it's always just a really organic, open conversation.
Nice. And I've got a question for you guys as well, because obviously when I threw like parties back in the day, like 10 years ago or 13 years ago, whatever, it was a different kind of scene and a different approach back then to the scene now. Now, my question to you guys is, with combining the record label and having the events, what are the challenges you're facing now compared to what you was when you started? Because when you started LUNR, you kind of see you had the monopoly. So how is it evolving now with there's so much saturation in the scene? How are you navigating around that, and how are you standing out from others, or what are the tools that someone else could benefit from, that you could provide you two guys that will, you know, help them out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first of all, having a label with the events company, it gives you so much more like depth field, if you know what I mean. Like, it gives you just so much more span to achieve stuff. You know, you can elevate in so many ways. We all know that throwing events in the UK is amazing, and there's a big scene there, but it's fairly restrictive in the long run, right? If you want to do bigger things in other countries, like, the label is perfect for growth, and it also means that we get to put out music that we love. You know, DJing is obviously a massive part of what we do, but the music fuels all of that, right? If you can't DJ without any music. So I think being able to put our stamp in the music world with the music we release means that LUNR and Grounded can travel beyond the events that we put on, which I think is really, really cool. And when it comes to challenges, obviously, I'm not gonna lie, there's more chefs involved. Like, there's more people, usually means more problems. We have to be really careful about how we balance the communication and how we kind of like compromise on stuff, because going from a team of 2 to a team of 4 is pretty challenging. Like, it's 2 people is very easy to run, but when you get to 4, everybody's got different ideas, especially when you come to 2 brands that are already like a few years in. Like, none of us were brand new. Like, we all had what we want. We all had like our kind of brand background of what we wanted to achieve. Luckily for us, there's so many parallels and so many like common goals that we both have. A lot of that was pretty like easy to get on with each other, because we're just already on the same mindset. So I guess it's more practical challenges. Like, as you know, I'm based in Canada, which is really helpful in some ways, but other ways it's really not. Helps him with the technical side, helps him with the time difference.
Start tapping into that North American market, isn't it?
Well, exactly. That's on the cards when the time is right. I think you know about the scene here just as much as I do, and when the time is right, you've got to run with it. But timing's everything. But yeah, it's just the practical stuff like communication, making sure we compromise, making sure everybody's happy. Because at the end of the day, there is sometimes where one of us just isn't fully in with it. But you got to trust your partners. You know, they've been doing it for a reason, and everybody knows what they're talking about. So chances are, if 3 people out of 4 say this is the right way to go, and you're almost there, you got to trust them because they know what they're talking about as well. Yeah,
and that goes on to you, Jake. Like, obviously, you've kind of got the monopoly in Ipswich, but when you're moving into different cities, how do you compare, like, you know, when other ones are doing really well already? You know, how do you get your foot in the door?
Yeah, good question. I think just touch on what Law said as well. It's going to sound like really quite boring advice, but I think this is so important, is when you're brand new, you've got friends who are around you, who want to support you, they want to be there. And over time, naturally, organically, that changes a little bit. And you need to see new faces at your events if you want to grow things. And, otherwise you're setting yourself a ceiling. And I think once you get a little bit bigger, once we're looking at dates in different countries, dates in different cities, process is so important. And it's something that people don't really talk about, because everyone loves for it to look like the dream party lifestyle where you're hopping on planes, you're out every night, you're meeting cool people. But really, for those things to happen, when there's more people involved, when the team's bigger, we have processes that we've signed off on before they're a part of the conversation. And sticking to those processes is really important. Otherwise, you feel like you're spinning 100 plates at the same time and trying not to drop any of them. So that process is really important. In terms of getting out there and getting into new towns, obviously a lot of it is about who you know. I think it's really important to create a strategy for that. You know, we'll identify a city like Dublin, for example. We'll then put the work in to understand where's the footfall already, where are the people who like house music in Dublin. We might then rule that down to a few venues that we're keen to work with. We then flew out to Dublin and walked into these venues and introduced ourselves to the bar managers and other DJs in the town, in the city. And we found that was really, really useful. Even from a remote perspective, if you're utilizing social media to your advantage, it's really important to have a strategy around who do we need to speak to. And then it's about building that relationship, right? You know, going into conversations with no ego, no attitude. There's no value in going to a conversation where you're in it for a place which is already quite saturated, where no one knows who you are, and saying, we're going to fill out this venue, this is what we want, we're guaranteed to sell 1,000 tickets, because that's just not the case, right? You know, we're approaching these conversations as, we absolutely love what we do, we're really passionate, there's no promises, we'd really welcome a conversation about whether it's the right fit to collaborate with you as a venue. And we found that to be quite successful. People like helping people like working with people they get on with, people who are human, people, you know, they can reach out to on a Sunday evening with a question about something completely unrelated, you know. And that's how we've managed to expand LUNR from where we began, is just by creating a real strategy around how we're going to penetrate different markets, how we're going to get into different cities, and then just being ourselves and having those conversations. And it's 1,000 setbacks. Like I cannot stress enough how many times you'll get ghosted by an organization, or you won't hear back from a venue, or things won't work. But the only thing that customers see and other promoters see is, we did this, we're in this venue, we're in this country. But really, if you had a look through my Instagram DMs, it's a lot of scrolling, and not a lot of fun DMs. It's all work related, but there's lots of people you won't hear back from. And that's just part of the grind. I think the way to stand out is to put in an extra 1% than your competitors and the other people that are there. Send one more message, reply to something a little bit quicker, whatever that might be, and start building those relationships. But we've been going 5 years. You know, we've done a pandemic. It's been a long process. And we're now at a point where we're doing all the things that we manifested as 19-year-olds 5 years ago when we were in a pub down the road from our houses. I think it's really important to trust the process and just stick at it for a little bit more than someone else, and that might be your way in.
Yeah, consistency is key, mate, and that's what 100%. Everyone says, 100%. And because people, like you say, like you said at the beginning of the podcast, people through the brand have come and go, not in a bad way, but just for their own reasons, right? And that's the same thing. There's other brands that will come and go, but if you stay consistent, then that's how you're gonna, you know what I mean? So it's all kind of part and parcel of how it all works, mate, isn't it?
100%. And yeah, that consistency is so important. And just keep putting the legwork in, keep reaching out to people. It's the only way, I think, really to get to where you want to be. But also, I think you need to approach conversations with, why not us, and not in a way that's got any sort of cockiness or expectation there. But when we decided Dublin's a city we'd love to do a show in, for example, you have to approach those conversations as, actually, no, we're good at what we do. We know what we're doing. Why wouldn't it be us? And start to sort of manifest it and see yourself in that environment. And I think, you know, laws of attraction, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And good things come.
Yeah, that kind of goes on to you, Lawrence, and like with regards to, like Jake explained, like, you know, the challenges of like standing out. What about with the record label? Like, this applies to you, Jake, both of you, actually, to be fair, but like, you know, doing releases, because I was told you this, Lawrence, before, like, they say now that when you release a track, you only get 30 seconds of fame of that song because it's already been replaced. There's like 100,000 tracks that get put on Beatport every single day. So how do you navigate, like, trying to, you know, for people listening, if they're new and they want to start a record label or sign up to Grounded or just a label in general, like, how do you navigate all that?
It's challenging because the space is, like, as we know, house music has gone through another resurgence, and electronic music generally over the last couple of years has gone through another resurgence, which is amazing because more eyes on the genres means more popularity. But then you combine that with the information age, the social media kind of era, and it's just so much noise. I was thinking about this the other day where I was just scrolling through, obviously going through your social medias. Everything's being rammed down your throat 24/7. And it's just like, as a consumer, it's really tiring. So part of that is, like Jake said, consistency. Consistency is super important because times change. But if your goal remains the same, you're going to get closer to it no matter how everything changes, So you just got to keep grinding, find different ways to engage with people. And like Jake said, he's a really big people person, like talking to people, just continuously building some relationships and nurturing them. And, that person connection doesn't really go anywhere. Like, it's really easy to overlook the fact that going into a bar or meeting with a producer, having some organic studio time, it's really easy just to send an Instagram DM instead. But as we know, Brad, we talk on the phone a lot, and you obviously find that super valuable more than like an Instagram DM. I think it's way better just to have that organic connection, just because you can chat, more value out of it. So I think it's more just about really pivoting your position. How are you going to speak to people? Like, how to avoid the noise, and just find ways to connect. I think it's all about community and it's all about connecting. And when it comes to label stuff specifically, yes, it's really hard to get the spotlight. You've only really got 1 to 2 days before your release just loses traction. Like, it needs to make an impact within the first day of release, otherwise it starts to fall off. And with the way that the space is like rapidly evolving, like all the time, your same release tactics don't always work. So you need to pivot your approach and just keep your eyes on the ball. Network is never going to go anywhere though. So that's why I think network is so important, because yes, the way that platforms change may pivot how you should do things, but your connection with somebody and your relationship with a person is unaffected by that. That's the thing. We'll stay consistent throughout everything. So I think that's the main takeaway: is build your community, build your network, have conversations with people, but don't fluff it up out of nothing. Have real connections if you can.
Yeah, I agree. And again, like I'll say this actually as well, is instead of sending an Instagram DM, send a voice note. It's more personal. It's more like it's more connecting and things like that. I mean, I've always done it. Plus, I fucking hate texting because I'm like an old man when it comes to it. But yeah, I mean, like I just think a voice note is way more just like, you can say more in a voice note and people can just listen to it on the go. People have got their earphones in or AirPods or whatever. And I think, like, you're right in this. I mean, my opinion would be also is like finding a strategy that works with that music as well. But do you think like it falls on do you think the label should be doing more to promote, or is it an equal effort, or the artist should be doing it? Because some people release on a label and think it's down to the artist with their promo pack and everything like that. Like, what do you reckon that should do? Or is it different for every artist?
You literally get out what you put in. That is the kind of common theme with everything. What you put in, you will get out. So me as an artist, obviously I've released 3 labels. Do I put my own promo efforts in? Absolutely, because I want my work to do really well. Do I put my own budget in? Absolutely, because I want my work to do really well. Like, at the end of the day, if you want your stuff to do well, you need to put the effort in as much as the label does. So don't just leave it all to somebody else to make your success, because how tough it is to get the limelight, how tough it is to actually make noise in the space in terms of releases and like build your profile. You need to be putting 110% into this. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for failure. Obviously, everyone's different, but I firmly believe that, if you want your stuff to do well, if you firmly believe in your craft, you need to be knocking out every door you can and pushing out to everybody you can, putting all your effort in. Don't just leave it to somebody else to navigate, because believe it or not, some labels don't have your best interest in mind either. Some of them just need a number of releases to keep stuff current, keep stuff rolling. Where, we only release music we like, first of all, and we like to release music of people on our network that we like, because both brands have very core values which are super important to us. Like, we've got some residents that have been with us, DJs for Grounded Loon, that have been with us for a while, but there's 1 or 2 residents that just haven't worked out, and that's generally because they don't match like what we're about as a brand. Now, one thing that we're really about is be really easy to work with, be a good person, like be helpful. That's really big in both of our brands, and like represent the brand in that way. And this comes down to like producers as well, DJs. You know, if you're a bit of a difficult person to work with, if you're a bit problematic, I probably don't want anything to do with you. And that goes for everything. So I guess, yeah, put the effort in, be easy to work with, be a kind person, and that goes really, really far when everything doesn't.
And that goes into the next question for both of you as well. I think this is a good question. Have you guys ever dealt with imposter syndrome? And if so, how do you deal with it? And what about people that you're around or DJ with you that have a bit of imposter syndrome? Because a lot of people compare themselves to other people on social media. So what would be your advice for that?
All the time is the short answer. It baffles me sometimes, some of the things that we're doing. I think we're in a position now where we're trying to build a brand that's bigger than us, and so by its nature, there's going to be situations where we think, how are we at this table? How are we having these conversations? It's really quite baffling, and it's something I'm so proud of. You know, for example, and we can touch on it a little bit later on, but we're hosting our first show in Ibiza next month, and it's a huge thing for us personally, a huge thing for the brand. It's a goal that we've had for a really long time, and for us, it's the place to be in terms of scaling the brand to where we want it to be. But having the conversations around that, imposter syndrome has been in absolute full force. It's mind-blowing that we're having these conversations.
It's tough,
and I think,
yeah.
I'll be completely honest, I don't know the way around it completely yet. I'm absolutely not a master of it. I'm still feeling the effects of it all of the time. But I think it's just reminding yourself of the really tricky times, telling yourself, actually, we should be there. You know, we've been dealing with rejection so much, as any brand will, and in the event space, in the house music space, increasing your input by 100 times, having so many conversations, trying to make the right decision time and time again, even the smallest decision. We've always put the brand first. We pulled out of some very lucrative agreements and very lucrative opportunities because it wasn't the right fit for the brand. And sometimes saying no to those quick wins, the easy wins, the ones that are given to you, put right in front of you, is the right thing to do to ensure that you get to where you want to be long term, like Ibiza, you know, 5 years after we launched, and a few years for Grounded Sounds. But I think just reminding yourself you should be at the table, reminding yourself the really difficult days and the legwork that you've put in. And I think it's just a process of telling yourself that until you feel like you should be there. But imposter syndrome is something that I struggle with all the time, especially as a promoter as well, because that's our core function. LUNR's produced some unbelievably good tracks. I've been DJing for a little while, but really in terms of a LUNR and Grounded Sounds angle, we're promoters. We started as promoters. We're selling tickets. That's what we've always had to do to keep unlocking the next stage for the brand. And sometimes it's particularly difficult to promote an event where that imposter syndrome is in full swing, because I want to be going out there saying we're doing this because we're the best. But every now and again, I think actually how have we ended up here? But it's all good things, and I'm really proud of it. But definitely experience that all the time.
Challenging,
and I think it's just a sign that you're building a brand that's going the way you wanted it to go. But to talk about these things for so many years, when it actually happens and when it's in there, that's when the wave comes in for me of imposter syndrome, and I think, what's next?
Yeah, because you go to Ibiza, right, and you think, well, there's imposter syndrome for kind of, you know, we're the new kids on the block in Ibiza now, and then 100%. It all restarts again, right? You know, so yeah,
mate, it's challenging. I just think the imposter syndrome thing, like you know it as a producer side. I think all producers get the imposter syndrome because, you know, we're hearing some amazing music. Like I get it with producing like more than anything else, just because I'm hearing music that I really want to play and I'm like, damn, this person's so good. And we just forget that it's such a process. It takes time, and everyone's opinion is subjective, and most of the time it's not even about right or wrong. It's just about where your head's at. I don't know. I was thinking about this the other day with the imposter syndrome. I think it's very evident in everything. I think we need to be really aware that social media is a highlight reel, and you only see what people want you to see. You don't see the lows. That's super important. I think we need to really keep that at the front of our mind. But then also, I'm quite a logical robot at times, and when it comes down to it, this is the statement I stick by. If you're going to continue either way, if you've made a commitment to doing something, those feelings are completely pointless. Like if you feel like you're unsure about something, if you feel like you're getting imposter syndrome, if you're going to continue either way, they have no purpose. Just bypass it. I always think if there's like a subject to change, and if you're thinking about pivoting, then maybe you can entertain those feelings. But if you said, listen, I'm going to be a promoter, I'm going to be a DJ, I'm going to be a producer, if you've committed to that and there's nothing in this world that would change you from chasing that, don't even entertain those feelings, because they will do nothing but slow you down. And if you're going to do that path anyway and follow that road either way, don't even listen to them, because they're invalid. It's not going to change what you do. It's just causing you stress for no reason. Just keep going, forget about that stuff, and just keep working.
Yeah, great advice, mate. And that goes into my other question as well. Is obviously you've like Drake said, you guys have faced the challenges and stuff. What's been the most challenging part of running LUNR and the record label, you guys?
For me, I don't mean to butt in, Law, but the biggest challenge that we've faced is the pandemic. And I know it feels like old news now a lot of the time, but we were really coming up before the pandemic, and we were thinking, wow, we could have something here. And we had lots of dates in new venues and different parts of the town. And then all of a sudden, everything's gone. All of your pipeline's gone. And we're in lockdown thinking, have we lost all of our momentum? Because momentum is so important. If you take your foot off the gas, you can very quickly set yourself a ceiling that just goes straight in. And you're not meeting new people and you're not evolving. And so it's so important to always have your foot on the gas, build that momentum. And when the pandemic struck, I thought, what if we've lost all of the momentum here? What if that's that? You know what I mean? There's a new brands that come up post-pandemic who do things a little bit better, they're further evolved, whatever that might be. And we're then just fighting for a really, really long time. And for me, that was the biggest challenge. And a lot of that challenge was processing things internally. Because really, I was facing these challenges and having these thoughts in my head before we found out if we had lost momentum. So I'd effectively created it myself. We adapted a little bit. We created a clothing line during the pandemic for sort of people in the community, a streetwear brands. That was a lot of fun. A lot of that was just to keep ourselves busy, keep ourselves out there and doing our thing. We were really thrilled with how well that went as well, something we're really keen to bring back in the not so far future. But I guess that's how we adapted to keep ourselves talking, keep communicating, keep the brand out there. But that was a huge, huge challenge. And I still remember the first event we did after the pandemic. We collaborated as LUNR with a company called House in Town, who we've worked with a lot over the years, and a company called Unwritten, who aren't running events anymore, but they were sort of the only other brand, I suppose. The three of our brands were the only brands doing it before the pandemic. And we collaborated on an event, put everything into it, all of our time, all of our energy, and I remember once people started coming through the door, there's a moment when me and Owen, who's a part of LUNR and Grounded Sounds as well, we looked at each other and I think he shook my hands and just said to me, we're all right, you know. And that was such an important moment and something I still think about now, because that was almost a sign of actually the world's going to come back to normal. The industry is massively changed, of course, but the industry still exists. These people still have a curiosity about house music and about attending these events. And I think that was a really big moment for us. And it was not the busiest event. It wasn't wild, but there was enough there that the legwork previously wasn't pointless. And I remember that being a really big moment. And I think the advice there is to not create things in your heads and run with them.
Yeah.
When it could not be the truth. You need to really trust the process and experiment with things and see how things are going to play out. Because I was really telling myself, you know, we could have lost all of our momentum. This could be the end of it. We're so passionate about this and it's really our baby. And it could be over. When really, as soon as we had the opportunity to come back, and we did, and it was okay, I remember thinking all of those thoughts were just so silly. You know what I mean? They didn't need to have those and could have shaken them out of my head. But I remember that being a huge challenge for LUNR for sure. And even adapting now to the way the market's changed, because it has massively changed. Even in 2024, it's a very different landscape to pre-pandemic. And so it's just adapting to those changes and understanding your market.
Yeah, that's good, mate.
I agree with that. I think I'd offer a practical answer and then like a more kind of circumstantial answer. So first of all, I'd just say on a personal note, capacity is always a challenge, because you know, if you've got a relationship, you've got a full-time job, because you know, music money is far and few between. So
every musician's poor.
Relationship. Well, exactly, mate. I mean, luckily for us, we're able to fund everything for the brand, which is amazing. Like we don't lose money, which I think is absolutely incredible. You know, like to have a profitable business in this day and age
In this
after
day
the
and age,
pandemic.
yeah.
What that's done, it feels amazing that we can even do that. But I just think when it comes to capacity, you've got your full-time job, you've got your relationship. Like for me, it's producing, DJ, run the label, networking, because networking is a really big part of it as well. So the capacity is really challenging. But what's lucky for us is now there's 4 people involved. Although more people sometimes means more problems, lucky for us, it also means more capacity. There's more people to pick up on stuff when you haven't got the time. And that is something which I felt that immediately. When we signed off the merger and stuff, and we were like, listen, from this day, we're going to start working together. It was like a week later, I phoned Magdi, like my original business partner, and I went, doesn't it feel so much better? And he was like, I was going to say the same thing to you. It feels so much easier. And then I guess the other challenge, what I would say is very practically, is the actual state of UK nightlife right now.
I was going to come on to that. Yeah, what's your views on that, boys? Yeah,
nightclubs are out. Like for the moment, they're fading off, and I think people want events. People don't want to spend their money on a night out unless it's special, which I do agree with. You know, it's not the same as the North American scene from what I've been exposed to here. There's a constant demand to clubs, there's a constant demand to events, but in the UK it's very, very different. You know, there's been challenges for the government, there's been challenges for the cost of living, which seem excessive compared to what we're dealing with in Canada. It feels a lot more intense from what I can see. But obviously clubs are becoming really challenging, lots of clubs are closing, so I think as promoters you really need to pivot and create something special and invest in your community and start building and show that you're resilient when times are tough. But you also need to be really inventive when it comes to your events and make them feel like events. Don't just put a lineup in a room and hope it's going to sell. You need to do more than that. You know, you need to brand it. You need to give it time. If you've got a residency, you need to just not expect it to take off straight away. These things take time and build. I think as a byproduct, when things start to stabilize, the competition is going to be less naturally, which is a benefit if you can make it through the tough times. Like for people like us, we're taking on 2 residencies now. We've had one running for over a year. We've got a second one starting shortly, but we also break out of doing other special events just to show, listen, we're here, we're doing big things, we ain't going anywhere. But I think it is definitely a challenge because, you know, it's harder to get into clubs because there's less of them, you know. Money's tight for everybody, so it's really challenging. These owners are really critical when it comes to spending. Even things like drink riders and stuff like that, and like the allowance of free drinks behind the bar, they can be slightly touchy when it comes to that, just because everything costs so much money and they're struggling as it is. So I think you have to be inventive as a promoter. You have to be like really kind of forthcoming when it comes to new ideas, fresh ideas. Make your like residency feel like an event. Make it a community event. You'll be fine, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I read that there's 300 clubs shutting down every month or something like that, or 300 sort of nightlife venues in the UK.
Terrifying.
Yeah,
it's definitely an industry that's been challenging, partly because of behavioural change from buyers and customers. People aren't planning ahead in the same way that they used to. For example, tickets are much trickier to sell at the moment, is the truth. Sell's not the right word, but people aren't buying tickets like they used to. They're not making plans like they used to. Everything's a lot more spontaneous. We've done much better on sort of people paying on the door and footfall than we have advanced tickets, where the flip used to be almost completely the other way. We used to do, you know, a handful of tickets on the door, and most of them were sort of bought in already. They've got their ticket confirmation, they're excited for it and ready to go. So dealing with those behavioural changes has been a real challenge for us, and I think that's across the whole market. I think it's important to be able to adapt and really understand how these behaviours are changing and not necessarily see it as a negative. It's really easy to see nightclubs closing and to see the cost of living crisis and think this is just difficult, but you can't keep doing the same thing if everything else is changing. I always think in a recession, generally the amount of money spent is the same, it's just spent in different places. And if we look at that really zoomed in on the event space, day raves are more popular than they've ever been at the moment. You know, people like to be able to travel to somewhere else, enjoy their day, get on a train at midnight and be in bed a little bit earlier. You know, that's where the market's moving. So there's one promoter could say, we're going to do our club nights, but we're just going to tell everyone how hard it is. And it is hard. This is not me saying it's absolutely fine to have a moan and talk about how intense the industry's been and how challenging it's been, because it is. but you can either keep doing what you're doing, keep steaming into an industry that's struggling, or you can adapt a little bit and look at, actually, maybe we could talk about a day party in a different town. Let's have a look at that, or let's have a conversation about, how is our event different from someone else's event. You can't. Sometimes it's not enough to just book DJs that you think will sell tickets and go with it. We really look at, what's the customer experience? How long is someone going to have to queue for before they're in? Who's the first person in that building they're going to speak to? Are they going to know who? Are we going to be able to go and say hello to these people? And is there enough of us to be having those conversations at an event? Is everyone going to feel good? Is everyone going to be welcomed? All of these customer experience things are so important to consider to make things better and make things different to other brands that are doing potentially quite a similar thing. And I think that's what people like at the moment in the market. They like to genuinely have a good time. They like to feel safe while they're on a night out, be with good people, be able to get a drink quicker. All of these things are so important. And even though we are promoters, we're booking a lineup, we're shouting about things and sharing case studies of when people have had a good time with us. Really everything we need to be talking about. And I think that's a way that we changed in the last year or so, is actually having those conversations with venue owners and saying, actually what happens if this goes wrong, or what's your procedure for this, or, talking about that customer experience is so important. And that's a way that we've had to adapt. But it's so important to understand what the market's doing. And I think the best example of that is day raves skyrocketing. Well, why don't we get involved in that too then, for example, and working out how you can adapt.
I think a lot. It's refreshing to hear that, actually, doing that with your events, because I think that's how promoters used to be back in the day. From what I remember, was greeting people at the door, being like, yo, and like keeping it all like, it's not very personal, but keeping it like, fresh and welcomed. Like at the end of the day, I think what people forget is it is a business. You got to keep the punters on the dance floor. You got to keep the drinks going well. All this sort of thing. And it's good that you've mentioned that, because I think we've lost ourselves in the social media world, where you don't see that side of it. And that's where was the backbone and the grassroots of starting a rave was, you threw it, and then one of you's at the door, one of you's running around trying to make 100%. Sure everyone's got the drinks ready. And do you know what I mean? So
when you get bigger, it's really easy to forget that. You know what I mean? It's easy to really get carried away with, we need some good content for social media as soon as this is done. Like we everything changes. But really, you're absolutely right. It's so important, Brad, to know who your customers are and recognize those people that are coming to see you. And I really want LUNR to be a stamp of authenticity. If you see LUNRs playing at a venue, you're going to have a good time. It doesn't matter what DJs are playing. It doesn't matter where we are, whether it's a completely new place. But I want the LUNR and Grounded Sounds badge to be a thumbs up from us, as if to be like, it's going to be safe, you're going to enjoy yourself, it's going to be friendly, the vibes are going to be good. I mean, we've got a side brand called the LUNR Disco Project, which is really quite new, but it's grown really fast and really nicely. It's different music, it's all disco house, new disco, good vibes.
Love
sort
disco.
Of 80s, 90s remixes. Yeah, exactly.
Love disco.
And we partnered with a venue called La Vida in Felixstowe. They're right on the seafront, not too far from here. And it just makes so much sense. And the goal for that brand is to scale it like we have LUNR, like we have Grounded Sounds, take it to new places, new experiences. But for us, on that side of things, there's never going to be a headliner ever. That's just not the route we're going to go down with the Disco Project. We've got some resident DJs who are very, very good at what they do, but it's all about the experience. It's all about the experience and the memories that are created there. And it's absolutely nothing to do with booking a name everyone knows so you can try and sell some tickets. It is really, really about this consistency again, right? If it's consistently a good vibe from start to finish, day, it's always good. You're going to pick people up. People are going to look out for it, and they're going to come back. And so I think if you can make sure that everyone has a good experience, then you're in a really good position. I've always said I don't ever want to do an event where we're worried it's someone's first LUNR event. Do you know what I mean? Every single one has got to be an experience that's good, where they want to come back. And I think if you keep that as your motto, then you can't go too far wrong, I think, anyway.
Yeah, I was going
what you said about the promoters just greeting people and stuff like that. So valid. I went to a party.
I don't see it anymore these days, I'll be honest with you. I say it's nice to hear Jay mention it, to be fair.
You say that, right? I went to a party a couple of weeks back, and that was in Vancouver. You'll know the promoter when I tell you after this, right? I go to this party, right, with one of my friends. Promoter comes over. I knew him knew him before, but I don't know him like that, right? Comes up to me, really warm introduction when I come in, really warm, nice greeting, proper introduction to my friend as well that he didn't know at all, really warmly. Yep. Goes to the bar, buys us both a drink, walks it over to us, chats with us for about 10 minutes, and then gets back to it. That, you just do not get that anymore. And I was blown away 100%. By that. And that's happened twice in the city now, recently with me and promoters, right? Don't get wrong, I've got my favorite promoters here for terms of quality of events, and I've got my favorite promoters here in terms of how they carry themselves. But that will always stay with me. And that's recent 2024. This happened a couple of weeks ago, and that's exactly what people should be doing.
We're in it. We're a community, and we're in that community. You know, we might be calling the shots on the brand and putting the legwork in for that, but we're a part of the community. We're all equals. The customers for LUNR, customers for Grounded Sounds, and us. We're all having an experience in this together. I mean, we've booked hotels for customers, we've booked Airbnbs, we've arranged flights for them, whatever that might be, because we don't exist without them. So why would you not invest everything into those people who show out for you and want to see you? You know what I mean?
That's what it used to be like. Getting the coach. As a coach coming up, you know, like we're in with like Dave's buses over the road, you know, to bring people off.
It's a WhatsApp group and a Ryanair flight now, but it's the same ethos.
yeah.
Well, Jake set up the Dublin community really, really well. That was something which he done like all of, to be fair. He set up the Dublin community, and he was like, listen, we're gonna do this big thing, and we're gonna put an event on in Ireland, and like his Dublin's our spot. We're gonna throw an event. Who's coming with us was the first thing I was thinking. Who's coming with us? How can we build a community? I'm there thinking about logistics and setup and equipment, and the first thing Jake goes to is who's coming with us, which is exactly what we're trying to represent.
Yeah. It kind of goes into my next question, and it's like, how, what events have you got coming up in Adagin Ireland, like these new ones? I know you mentioned like Ibiza, and you mentioned like in Dublin, but what more are you coming up, and how did you obtain these? I know you flew over to Dublin, the Ibiza one more than anything, because that's a big market.
Yeah, let's just talk Ibiza. Ibiza, as you know, Ibiza is the dance capital of the world. We love it. It's not for everybody. It's crazy expensive, but I've had some of the best times I've ever had there. And any house music DJ, first of all, wants to go to Ibiza, no matter where you are in the world. Let alone being able to put an event on there it feels great. Like I'm so excited. Coincidentally, this coincides with one of our friends' stag parties. Like one of Magdi, like our business partner. This is amazing. So it's going to be all of our friends going to be there. I mean, we get to throw an event in a country that everybody loves, in the dance capital of the world, and all our friends get to be there as well. Like, all the stars are just aligned with this one. It's amazing. So, as you know, there's lots of red tape in Ibiza. There's lots of handshakes and big money deals, and it's really, really difficult to get into the circuit there. Like, it's incredibly difficult. And in all honesty, we've been trying to pull this off for a couple of years now. We were trying to do this last year, but we just couldn't get everything to align. But like Jake was saying, it's about keeping on going, keeping your consistent approach, and don't give up. And because we went along with it, kept going and kept pushing and kept knocking on the right doors, eventually we found a venue to do an event at. And, we're doing an event in a place called, it's a event space called Plastic, which I think some people may have heard of, some people haven't. Like, we're just really excited to really bring the LUNR feel there and just show what we can do. Exactly. Before you know it, give us 5 years and we'll be headlining high.
Yeah, and Jake could have his own LUNR Airlines. If you find people over, he's got to get a pilot.
Exactly that. That's the goal. You know what I mean? If you like Tomorrowland do it, don't they? Why not us? 100%.
Yeah. Jump with them a plane. I'll fly you over to Ibiza. Don't worry.
Yes, that's
why I haven't got to drive it. It'll be all right.
I'll let Jake talk about Dublin's in a minute. We've got another one which I don't really know if I can talk about, but this one's really exciting. I'm just going to say that it's one of the biggest house clubs in Europe, in London. There's 3 words to the title of it. I'm pretty sure most people can guess what it is.
What room?
That's still yet to be confirmed. I can't really go over that in detail yet, but it's going to be later on this year. I think we all know what it is. Something of something is the venue we're going to be doing, and we're super excited. It's every now and then, you get one of these pinch me moments, and for us, we've been able to do that about 3-4 times this year. Dublin, Ibiza, and then this really amazing club. The last big London club that we done, the last big one, because we've done London events for the last couple of years. The last one we done, the Egg, and we can believe that within a year of running Grounded, we got to DJ Egg, and that was actually when I first met Jake. I actually first met Jake when I came back to London to both play Egg, and we started chatting then, and we were just all really, really excited. Went back to basics, flyers outside, really hammered the promo, and that, when we got there, played the venue, sold out room in Egg. That was one of the moments I'll never forget. So the fact that we get to do that again with an even, like, with a venue that arguably has an even bigger profile is super exciting. So that's definitely going to be
I still get goosebumps.
So, yeah, we've
thinking
got
about that
coming up at the end of the year. Yeah, it's crazy. So we've got like that coming up. We've got Ibiza coming up, Dublin twice, and I'll let Jake speak more about Dublin.
Yeah, so Dublin's an interesting one. It stemmed from a genuine love of Dublin as a city. I think it's such a
city, yeah.
It's such a great city to be in, and I've always enjoyed going there. I've been a few times with my boys and my mates on a social occasion, and we decided, actually, I wonder if there is a curiosity about house music in the town. Is something we didn't see a lot of as a punter, as tourists, effectively, but it's somewhere that we wanted to be, and it was absolutely a case of finding some venues that we want to speak to, flying out there, getting on a 35-minute flight, 40-minute flight, which is arguably more convenient than me going to Manchester for a meeting, and just went and introduced ourselves and shared a bit about our story and our narrative and what we've been doing, and the idea of us taking our community of house music fans on a journey, whether that's a physical journey, to a different country, to somewhere else, and they really bought into it, and we set it up. And again, a little bit of imposter syndrome. That was my first show outside of England, and it was a special one. So we went there. We did our first show a couple of months ago in a place called Electric Circus, a really interesting sort of quirky bar, really nice sound system. It was a huge success, is the truth. A lot of Dubliners that we spoke to really enjoyed it, because they said, almost every bar in Dublin is made for tourists. It's the same 4 songs on guitar. It's made for people to pop in for 10 minutes and then go somewhere else. And so they said it was actually really quite refreshing from their side to see a night that's got a lineup of really talented DJs, a vibe that sort of evolves throughout the night, tech house all the way through. And it went down really well with them. The venue were really happy. They're absolutely amazing to work with, by the way, at Electric Circus. Really great people. And we caught up again afterwards, had a debrief, spoke about what we enjoyed, some of the things we could do to change, to make it even better. And we're in again. It's a sort of textbook case of deliver once, go again, effectively. So we're back there on the 14th of December. I don't know if we've announced that date, Law, but we have now.
We haven't, but that's an exclusive, Brad. There you go.
That's that time. 14th of December. We're back in Dublin. I'm really excited for it. It'll be a sort of slightly Christmassy. It'll be a lot darker, of course. We start quite early in Electric Circus in Dublin, so it'll be a little bit darker, a little bit colder, a little bit festive, maybe. Who knows? But it's effectively our LUNR Christmas party, isn't it?
Yeah, mate, definitely. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you this question. Have you guys, because LUNR and Grounded together now, do you provide, or do you offer, or do you advertise? Say someone sends you a track, or sends you, and you sign their song, and you say, look, you have a potential to have a warm-up set or something. Is that something that LUNR does, or Grounded Sounds do, or both do? Is that something you guys
hosted a few launch parties, haven't we, Lord, to sort of debut this music, but you go run with this one.
Yeah, so the perfect example is Mr. Joey Tempo, right? We love Joey. Joey's a good friend of ours. And to be fair, he's been DJing for longer than he's been producing. And like, obviously signed one of his tracks, love it. Like it's the energy is just...
Such a banger, that one is. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's big. Anyway, so we signed it, we love it, really excited. And it was nice because we already had that relationship with him, and he's already been playing with us. He's been a Grounded resident before we merged and stuff. And then it was really nice because we were able... That's the thing about running a label and an events company. You can link them together really seamlessly. So we released a track and we done a launch party, which, if you're just a label, you can do that, but it doesn't mean you have the network of people who go to events. We luckily for us, we have people go to events and we have people who want to consume the releases. So it's super lucky that we can be like, oh, here's a track by one of our friends and a good artist, and come to the launch party as well. It's really nice that we can do both of those things, but in short, absolutely. You know, location does differ sometimes. It can be pretty challenging. Like we are due to launch events in Canada. I've been speaking about this for a while. Timing is key, but it will happen. Obviously, when we're signing tracks all over the world. You know, we're signing tracks from people in different countries, UK, whether it's Canada, whether it's America. We're open. We'll sign tracks from anywhere. If the music's good, we'll have it. Some of the demos I get from all parts of the world, which are amazing. And by all means, if we can accommodate to have these producers on the show, providing they are good DJs, because we're not prepared to sacrifice quality first and foremost. But most people, you know, if they've been producing, they are fairly good standard DJ anyway. We actively encourage getting them involved. We would love to have them involved, you know, from many a standpoint. Even practically, it makes so much sense. First of all, we can give them like a space on decks to showcase their music and really add to our vibe. But second of all, you think practically all the content for the release, all that kind of stuff, you know, it all just in every way it makes sense. And we don't care if you're a super seasoned DJ or if you're like a seasoned producer or what. If we can get you involved in all the brands, if we like what you do and you're good, we'd run with it. We'd love to do that.
That's good, mate. No, that's good. I kind of want to touch on you know, with the future of things. Like, what are the future plans? I know the brands have come together. What are the future plans that people can expect with like LUNR Events and Grander Sounds? Is there any more? Jake, I know you touched on like a clothing brand, sort of bring that back to the disco thing. What else is there to come?
Yeah, so for me, I really want LUNR to be a hub for creativity in the music conversation and also wider than that. I think, you know, going forward, things are going to get bigger and better, which I know every DJ and promotion company say, but things are already in the pipeline that they should be landing soon. That should be really exciting. For us, it really is a community of people who love house music. And if we can support them in other ways outside of events, then it's something that we're keen to do. We'd love to have a podcast, Brad. You've really inspired me. I'd love to be doing what you're doing and sitting in your seat. We are looking to bring the clothing line back and really create, you know, a hub for creativity and power lots of different things. The Disco Project is something that's expanding very, very quickly and another arm to the LUNR arsenal. But for us, it's just about going even bigger, seeing more of the world, seeing more of these venues that we're really keen to be within and building a bigger community. I think it's really worth noting that we're in a really interesting period of growth at the moment. And in terms of the relationships we're building, the pipeline of upcoming shows, and the label as well is growing really fast too. I think it's worth noting that if you're really passionate about music, if you love house music, whether it's disco or tech house or a different part of the house umbrella, we'd love to chat. You know, we're always keen to boost our network and build this community, because our community encompasses customers, people who like coming to shows, they like stepping away to some tech house from our DJs, but also people who are real creatives who love producing, they love performing. They might be a bedroom DJ, but they're keen to get their first step out there. Please chat to us, because there's room for all of us, you know, and as we get bigger, we want everyone to be in this with us, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I completely agree. Yeah, I think when it comes to practicality, in all honesty, I want to be point number one for the label. I think we all want that. That will happen eventually when the profile grows. I want to run a LUNR festival, an all-dayer. We've already spoken about that. That will happen at some point. We want to make a really unique space, even if that's a stage takeover at an existing festival. That will work great for us. But that's Definitely. One thing we're looking at. We're looking at how can we plan like a festival or an all-dayer. We want to be point number one, and we're also really keen to grow the community. I do a bit of mentoring here and there for some kind of younger producers, which I love doing, and Jake's really passionate about helping people. You know, I can see us doing something like a DJ Academy or like a producer group or something like that, just to really empower the community. I could see us doing something like that. And then I think finally, in terms of content, like Jake said as well, I can see us doing podcasting and stuff like that. I think we could be doing some long form YouTube content as well. I think with four of us, there's so much more capacity and there's so many good ideas coming out at the moment. So I think in terms of specifics, we want a festival, which will happen. We want to be main club Ibiza eventually. and we want to do some huge releases. And then I think it's just a matter of time for that all clicks into place personally.
100%. But I think as well, at the core, want to keep having fun, doing things that we love doing. Like everything we've done so far has been throwing events that we want to go to. It's been having conversations that are exciting for us to have, and opening experiences that are experiences we wouldn't have had if we weren't doing what we were doing. And I just want it to always be fun. I never want to get carried away with the sort of day-to-day operations of running the brand. It always needs to be fun, and all of that fulfillment comes from the people we collaborate with, the people that we work with, the people we team up with, and that's been really important for me. I mean, at the end of the day, myself, Owen, Laura and Magdi, we are business partners. We do have those challenging commercial conversations, but at the end of the day, we're four genuine pals who go to the pub together and have a drink and talk about life and talk about our families and talk about our jobs. And, you know, we're sharing all of this together, and that's so special, and I want to keep doing that above anything else.
No, perfect, boys. I really appreciate your chat today, both of you. I think there's been a massive insight and information about the scene as itself. It's good to know about LUNR Events and how it all started with Grinder Sounds, collaborating the two together. Imposter syndrome, I really went to cover that because I think that's a big thing that everyone sort of suffers with the current market of social media. And just getting to know you guys personally and what you're all about and the passion project. I think it's been a great episode and a great sort of insight and very beneficial for other people to like kind of learn from that as well. And it's also nice to hear just like the personal stories of things, because everyone, like you said, Jake, and Morris as well, is on social media you see the 15-second highlight clip, but when people hear like what the struggles that you guys have been through to do these events, it's like, oh, it ain't all fucking sugar coated like cherry on top kind of pudding. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of bases people and they got, it's kind of on their level. So it's a really good sort of thing to talk about.
It's really hard. Like there's been so many times where we've almost sucked everything off. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever, because it's a lot of legwork. It's a lot of rejection. It's a lot of picking yourself back up. But it's when you get the wins, like landing, seeing your logo on a poster in Ibiza, or 21 people coming with us and popping on a flight to come to our first international show. And it's those moments where, as four friends, we think this is worth it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, sometimes it only takes one thing to land, and it's all of the legwork for the last 6 months is worthwhile. But yeah, it's not easy at all. But the more people that do it, the more people that learn that, the more people who experience that and keep at it, the better, because there's room for all of us, and we're all trying to improve the scene locally for us and further afield. And there's plenty to go around. No competition, just collaboration for sure.
No,
I agree. I can't say that I've ever, even when it comes to the stuff that feels slightly repetitive, like building loads of artwork, like, or talking to like a venue owner or talking to producers, I can never say that I feel like dull while I'm doing it. It always feels exciting to me. I don't know why that is. I don't know if I'm just a workaholic or whatever. Like my mind's always ticking. I'm sure everybody else's is. Just really locked on to the prize. And it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel boring to me, because I feel like you can see the growth here, and that's like, we've intended to do bigger things, but it's not all steps to hit the goal. Like, some of it is genuinely surprised how quickly some of this stuff happens. So even the mundane, like I don't know, sorting out the accounts or like sorting out the invoices for the label or something like that, it just all feels good to me, which I don't really know why. It even surprises me sometimes, just even the contracts and stuff. Like, it all feels good because it all feels like it's for a good purpose. Like, it doesn't feel like, oh, I have to do that. I never get that feeling. Jake, I don't know if you get that feeling, but I never feel like that.
All the time, mate, every day. Absolutely hate it. But no, I completely agree. I think every action that we've made so far is why we're here now. And every action that we take now is how we're going to get to where we're getting next, And there are little things that, might be a little bit more tedious or operational or less glamorous, is the truth. There's lots of non-glamorous parts of the job that need to be done. But because of all of those things, we're having conversations we love, and we're meeting people we love, and we're doing the things that we want to do. And so, there's never a moment where I think I really wish I wasn't doing, because it's all worthwhile.
Yeah, it's good, mate. It's good.
Bradley, I forgot to plug the next label release, if you don't mind.
Oh, mate, you crack on, and then we'll sort of finish up there. Yeah.
Got really caught up in the event stuff. It's so fun to talk about. So we do have another label release, which actually has not been announced yet. So this is your other exclusive. So we've got a really wicked collaboration track between Paps, who's like based in the west of England. He's done some really cool stuff. He's played around Europe, played in America as well.
I'm getting him on soon, hopefully.
Great, amazing. I'm sure he'll talk about the track. So he's done a collaboration with a duo called Enigma, and they've sent us this amazing track. It's a bit more of like compared to what we usually have released. It's a bit more of like minimal inspired, more melodic, more of a journey track. But I really like it. I can see it doing really, really well. We've had some really good support on it so far. You know, when I'm doing my promo efforts, you get to see what the general scheme of DJs think about it, what if they like it, if they don't like it. And the support's been really, really good. I think it's got a lot of playability in a lot of sets. I think it's absolutely amazing set starter. I think it's absolutely amazing mid-set track. I think it's just really captivating when you listen to it. So this track is called Widow, and it's planned to come out on the 20th of September. So yeah, just before we go to Ibiza.
So you've got a mailing list for the label?
I do, yes. Yeah, so we're always looking for new people.
I'll put that in the description so people can sign up to get the alert for that. And then
amazing.
The release comes as well. And I'll do the same for LUNR Events. So when you've got events coming up, and obviously people can get that email, but I don't miss our show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You know?
Send us music. I always want demos. Like I said, I don't care if you've got 100 followers or 20,000. I'm not bothered. I would prefer you to have more followers, obviously. But if you don't, that's absolutely fine. I just want to hear good music. And if you're a new DJ and you're able to get to where we host events at the moment, we'd love to hear from you. You know, we love giving people their debut sets. And I love giving people their debut release if we can do it. So just, even if you just want to chat, I have so many producers, like young producers who just want to ask me, oh, can you run your ears over this? Oh, just want to ask you this. I love having these conversations. We're not gatekeepers because, like Jake said, the more people involved and the more growth in the scene is better for everybody. It's not just because somebody does well, you do worse. We all help each other. We're not trying to gatekeep the information. So just talk to us.
Quick question for you two guys. What is your desert island track before we leave?
Oof. Law, you go. Buy me some time.
Hold on, okay, let me look at my Spotify. Okay, right. What have we got? Hold on. We're talking cliche, like nice weather island, right? I have to be specific. I need to set the vibe. Okay, right. So my cliche. Hold on, I need to look at my playlist for this.
It's going to be the room Sandstorm, 100%.
Yeah, pretty green eyes.
Yeah.
No, that's relevant, isn't it? At the moment.
Yeah, we just played with Ultra last weekend.
No, Camel Fat. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Sorry, lads. I'm going to have to hold you up on this one.
I feel like mine's going to be Robert Miles' Children.
Children's a fucking
such an iconic song. And it's the song that I'll never ever get bored of. My music taste change. It changes every hour. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's a song that as soon as that beautiful piano sample comes on, I'm all over it. Can never skip it. Yeah.
That's definitely going to be mine. Yeah, for sure.
I think I would love to go with the incredible Julio Bashmore.
Also,
and no, I love that track, but it's going to be Battle for Middle U. That is one of my all-time favorite house tracks. It feels modern, even though it was released in maybe 2013, 2014.
Yeah,
but I would just love to blast that on the island. You know, it almost feels like a little bit like tribally, even though it's modern and electric. It feels a little bit tribally in places. So I think that'd be my one. I played it the other day in a set, and I'm so happy. I haven't been able to play that for a long time.
Yeah, mate. Very good. Is there anything else you guys want to brush up before we finish up here?
Then we're all good. I'm gonna hop on a plane, come and see us in Ibiza, and then we'll take you to Dublin after that. But no, thank you so much for having us on, Brad. I really appreciate it. Good to meet you properly as well. And appreciate an hour of your time.
Yeah, it's good, mate. I think we'll be going on for a good hour and 15, 20 minutes.
Perfect. We don't want to bore people with the sound of our voices.
I appreciate you guys' time. I really do.